So Shakespeare. Shakespeare has become a big project, and I have finished the first volumes in my ever-growing Shakespeare project. When I went to make the covers of the 3 larger junk journals that I've made, I wanted to put leading ladies, the heroines from Shakespeare's stories, on the covers, and it turned into making a digiset. So I put the whole set together, and then I decided to miniaturize them and sew them onto some tea-dyed cards as well, and that ended up being another digital set. And when I went to go gather some quotes other than the ones that I put on the tea-dyed pages to put in these, that became a digiset, and this thing just kept growing and growing. So apologies to the people who are waiting for these. The first 3 journals have all been reserved in advance, so they won't be for sale in my shop. But there's more Shakespeare coming. This is just the beginning of it. So these are the first 2 Shakespeare-themed journals. Imogen, who is the heroine from the tragedy Cymbeline, and Ophelia from Hamlet. And I guess I'll take you through these 2 in this video, and then I'll make a separate video for Portia, and she's not a straight up Shakespeare themed journal. It's actually modified. It's a little bit of a different animal, so I'll do her separately, but I'll flip through these with you now. So for the Shakespeare themes, Shakespeare's work had 3 categories: his plays, his sonnets, and his poems. And I have mostly focused on his plays, which were then divided into comedies, histories, tragedies, and romances. And throughout the ages, different scholars have put different categories. They have reclassified them as a romantic comedy or a romantic tragedy. But anyways, that's I've tried to focus mostly on the plays. The lady who has reserved Ophelia, who was the heroine in Hamlet, she loves Hamlet, so I tried to make this volume a little more biased towards that. There's a quote I got out of one of my Shakespeare books here that says, "I loved Ophelia, 40,000 brothers could not, with all their quantity of love, make up my sum." So just got some layered sari silk and lace, and a page from an old book. I think the copyright was in the 1930s. The pages were pretty sturdy given how old they were. And I took a page out of the Hamlet play for that. And I have a detachable tassel with a little Hamlet. I've got the overhead light on. Sorry about the glare. As soon as I go to video, the sun disappears and it gets dark, and it's either wait or fire up the overhead lights. So I'll just set this aside. It's got the bulldog clip to detach or hook on the top. And the sari silk that I used both in the tassel and for the tie, Victorian Gypsy Girl. I'll plop the link below the video where I get my sari silk. I think this is the cookie colored. The fabric is it's almost like a chenille raised upholstery, tapestry kind of fabric. They have it in with the upholstery bolts of fabric at the warehouse. Okay, going inside, I have another excerpt from Hamlet about Ophelia here. And so I've got various elements from the different digis that I made, and a few other things that I put in from all different plays at different parts, and it's a little bit all over the board, but it is all Shakespeare. Here's a tea-dyed index card with the fairies from Midsummer Night's Dream. Peas bottom, cobweb, moth, and mustard seed. And this is Portia from Merchant of Venice. I loved this picture from Twelfth Night. So I made sure that this is one that I put in each of the volumes that I made. And then these are just quotes. I won't read them all to you. I have them available in my shop if you want to just get these separate and put them in any of your projects, or just even to read through them. But there was a whole page of printable quotes on love. There was a page on success, another page about death, and the fourth one was fabulous insults, because nobody could throw an insult as eloquently as Shakespeare did in his various works. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. That is also from Twelfth Night. Little Edith Holden, little sari silk on the tabs, stenciling throughout. This is from The Tempest. And I have dug out various title pages from Shakespeare's works. Romeo and Juliet. And I've got some stamped index cards, both with the graph lines and the straight lines on them. I thought this was neat. This happened to be a page of Romeo and Juliet out of the Maps, Texts, and Ledgers book of papers that I tea-dyed, so it was quite fitting to put that in there. A little leaf charm on the tab. Here is another depiction of Ophelia. To thine own self be true, from Hamlet. And of course the famous to be or not to be, that is the question. I won't crucify you all by attempting to read Shakespeare in such poor meter that I have right now. But wonderful passages. Some more sorry. I had not planned on using any sorry silk as tabs, but some of the colors just seem to go so well. Dispute not with her, she is a lunatic. I need to Google and see which that is from. It sounds like Taming of the Shrew, but I'm not sure. Here's a great painting of Juliet. It's one of the tea-dyed collaged index cards with Miranda from The Tempest. And the elves making coats, that was from Midsummer Night's Dream. This is Celia from As You Like It. And here is that fabulous picture of Imogen I've got my card in here that I put my 1-cent stamps on. If you haven't heard that story, I bought some beautiful 1-cent stamps a number of years back because they were so pretty, and you know, you can always use that little extra bit of postage, and I accidentally bought 3,000 instead of 300 because I did the math wrong, so now they're wonderful ephemera. Here is the full first page from Hamlet, the play, out of one of my oldest Shakespeare books. Some more scenes from The Tempest. What I liked about these Midsummer Night Dreams and Tempest digis is I took a brief summary of what the scene was. So even if you're not really familiar with the storyline, almost fairy time, we have a cradle and the little fairies are peeking in the door here. The narration, I find, gives it so much context. It makes it funner to use these, even if you're not really familiar with the exact storyline of each of the of each of the plays. Perdita, she was the daughter in, wow, Henry, I should know this, Henry VI, Henry VIII. Now I got to look it up. I'll let you know before the end of this video. Some Edith Holden paper. The King's Men was the name of the acting troupe of men that Shakespeare belonged to. They were, I think, formerly known as the Lord Chamberlain's Men, and then they changed their group name to the King's Men and got the band back together. Great scene from Romeo and Juliet. And here's another altered tea-dyed index card. Great scene where Juliet wakes up and finds Romeo has taken his life. Lady Macbeth. They say she was not a happy camper. I put this charm in each of these three journals. I wrote this down because I didn't want to paraphrase it wrong. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. To which Juliet replied, "Oh, swear not by the moon." So I just thought that was a really great compliment to that. Here's some more of the Hamlet play. And these are scenes from Midsummer Night's Dream. It's an altered card from The Tempest with Miranda and Ferdinand. A little bit of their meeting scene. Another great scene from The Tempest. Here is a book charm with A Midsummer Night's Dream on it. another depiction of Miranda from The Tempest. In each of the books I have put I guess you would call it a folder page. It's simply a piece of cardstock, and I've made a pocket here. On the pocket I've stitched the picture, the drawing of Stratford-on-Avon, which is where Shakespeare was born. And inside what I have is the summary of the play from the cover. And this is Hamlet. This came from a Barnes & Noble college outline, the equivalent of Cliff Notes nowadays, book of Shakespeare's plays from 1941. And the pages are pretty delicate. They're thin. And I found that on a bookshelf in my mom's library when she moved recently. And so it's a summary of the play. And it tells you who's in it, and scene by scene, act by act, it gives the summary of the entire story of the play. I just thought that was really neat. So rather than try to washi or sew these pages, which you kind of have to access the front and back to be able to read, I just made a folder to slip them in so that they could be gently put in something sturdy and still be included in the journal. Well, I dropped the paper clip. I love that painting. That's supposed to be of Mercutio, who was Romeo's friend. I love reading the writing on these old title pages too. Sometimes I really have to look close because of the way that they wrote everybody's names and gave various people credit, and it is just very interesting. This is the Merry Wives of Windsor. Their S's look like F's. And a fun, need a decoder ring to get through all the Shakespeare history and the ways that it was depicted over the centuries. Lady Percy and Lady Anne were from Henry VI, and going back to what I couldn't remember earlier, Perdita was Hermione's daughter in A Winter's Tale. I just need a moment to remember. Lots of learning and remembering in the last couple weeks. I love this drawing. This is from Midsummer Night's Dream. There's Lady Anne, also from Henry VI. Another tea-dyed card, Shakespeare on it. This portrait of Shakespeare was painted by William Page in the 1800s, long after Shakespeare was around to pose for it. But I like that version of him. Page from Macbeth. And there's Hermione from A Winter's Tale. More floofies from the Sorry Silk. I put a little note in each of these junk journals that Sorry Silk sheds for a good while after it begins to be used. Put in a feather here because it reminded me of a quill that Shakespeare might have written with. And there are the ladies Anne and Percy. I know that that is The Tempest, but I'm not sure if this is from The Tempest or Midsummer's Dream. I think they're both Tempest. I'm going to go with that. Anybody who's more proficient in their Shakespeare is probably looking at this video going, no, you've got it wrong, honey. You can feel free to kibitz at me in the comment section. I did my best. And another page from Macbeth. The Bard of Avon. I love this. The eyes are the window to your soul. Little Romeo and Juliet on the back cover. And some Romeo and Juliet there as well. So this is Celia. She does not want to stay closed. They do lay flat. So in order to shut her, what I find is if you do the first loose tie, and then I take my pinky and squish it shut and make a loopy bow. And then I can just floof it right out. So that's Ophelia. This is Imogen. Imogen was the daughter of Cymbeline, and Cymbeline was an ancient king of Britain. They dated him back to around the year AD 10. In very ancient Britain, and she married someone other than the fella the king had arranged her marriage for, and she ended up having to flee her kingdom. And it is one of those plays that has been called a tragedy and then also called a comedy. It actually doesn't have as bad of an ending as you might think when you're reading through. So I just love this image of her. Got some sari silk stitched in back here. Oh, for a horse with wings. And got sari silk and some what I thought was royal blue. Went with her cape so well. And there's a charm, Much Ado About Nothing. Again with the bulldog clip. So I'll just set that aside. This is one of my favorite fabrics. It's again that soft chenille feel of the texture on the black part of it with the leaves in between. It's one of the very first fabrics that I covered journals in way back when, and I recently found some more of it, so I picked up several more yards. So it just feels so good. And this is more of the cookie colored sari silk with the tie. Shedding. I have little cookie threads everywhere. Our temperatures have been going up and down dramatically this week, which creates a great deal of static cling, which is my enemy when I am working with sari silk and sewing a lot. So this also lies quite flat. So I have Shakespeare on the inside cover and a Romeo and Juliet tea-dyed index card. And as I said when I was flipping through the other journal, I have all of these index cards that are scanned into digital sets that you can download in my shop if you're interested. This is just a little collage of Shakespeare scraps that I put together while I was while I was cleaning up my desk. I thought that was a really neat little insert. This is Helena from Midsummer Night's Dream. And some stitching on the sari here. Again, the King's Men. A scene from A Winter's Tale. That was a tragic story. So many of these have ended up having uplifting twists towards the end. That was not one of them. Cruach, who is Lady Macbeth. Took me a minute. A stamped card there. There's that great picture of Mercutio. Away, you 3-inch fool. There were a lot of insults in Taming of the Shrew. I got to go back and read that one. Quite colorful dialogue. Great Romeo and Juliet picture. I loved this fabric. I thought that was very Shakespearean. This is a great insult. A most notable coward, an infinite and endless liar, an hourly promise breaker, the owner of no one good quality. That is pretty severe. We've got some Midsummer Night's Dream here. That great picture of Juliet on the balcony. Here is the first page of the play from Twelfth Night. I could not find the entire play of Cymbeline in either of the Shakespeare books that I was willing to take pages out of. I do have the play Cymbeline in my complete volume, but that is kind of a family heirloom, and so Twelfth Night went into, the pages went into this one. Cleopatra. Some Edith Holden, stenciling. Some more Midsummer Night's Dream. This is probably my very favorite card. What fools these mortals be, from Midsummer Nights. I think that fairy's name was Puck. And here is Midsummer Night's Dream on this charm. And here comes Tramp. He's going to meow to be let out. 'Cause you're spoiled. I know. Shh. Hamlet's mother, Gertrude. And here is an index card with Portia from Merchant of Venice. She's got a great story. I've got her on the cover of the journal I'll put in the next video tell you a little bit about her story. Great scene from The Tempest. I know, Tram. Okay. All right, we will put this on pause. I have these scrolls that I put onto these clothespins to hold the pages open in case, you have to stop what you're doing and let the cat out. Remember that show, Rhoda, Carlton the doorman? He didn't even want to go out. He wanted me to talk to him. Okay. Found this great cover page from Othello. And I think this is in Polish, but I'm not positive. I think I saw a reference somewhere that this might, if you speak Polish or Russian, or I don't think these are Russian characters. At any rate, I thought that was really, really cool. So I included it in with the title pages collection that I had compiled. Another page from Twelfth Night. This is Midsummer Night's Dream. Some more title pages, a little stitched sari there. Some Romeo and Juliet. There's another one of those sun and moon charms. Great scene from Romeo and Juliet. There's a page from the play King Lear. And Beatrice. Beatrice was in, I should know this, I want to say Much Ado About Nothing. And some more sari threads. Great Romeo and Juliet. By heaven, I love thee better than myself. This is some of the Tim Holtz script fabric from his Dapper. Julia. What play was she in? Oh. I should have taken notes and had a cheat sheet. More foofies. Well, that'll drive me nuts. There we go. And here are the college notes from that 1941 book for the play Cymbeline. Imogen, daughter of Cymbeline, king of Britain, and the tender constant wife of Posthumus, more goddess-like than wife-like, and lady so tender of rebukes that words are strokes, and strokes death to her. So I have these pages, which, as I said, are kind of delicate, and I've just put them in a little cardstock holder there. For safekeeping. And the other page from King Lear. great painting after Romeo and Juliet have died, and the Capulets and the Montagues make up. Say they've lost enough. And there is Celia from As You Like It. Some more covers. It's from The Tempest. Some of the Romeo and Juliet scene. There's a leaf charm there. Miranda from The Tempest. Some more images from The Tempest. King Lear. I have to always search. The writing is so different and so out of what we think of as the normal fonts. And here is another depiction of Imogen, Cymbelin's daughter, who's on the cover. And here is a cover page from one of the very old editions of the play. Well, there we go. I have some stitched muslin here. And I love that picture from Midsummer Night's How Now, Spirit. Here is a 12th Night index card with a scene from 12th Night inside. And another great combination of Juliet with the title page of an old version of that play. So this is Imogen. I'll tell you, I had so much fun putting these together. I felt bad that it took so long, but the idea is I'd already had 4 of the stories from Shakespeare in my shop as digital image groups, and I think I put together 6 more while I was creating these journals. So I will have these off to the gals that reserve them, and I'll be back shortly with a video of the 3rd journal, which is Portia. So thanks so much for joining me and bearing with my Shakespearean interpretation of such great work. I'll see you soon. Thanks.